What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to again talk about Telltale games. Now, we've had several videos talking about Telltale, I know that, but I wanted to make another one talking about if it killed the episodic game genre, and this is an important aspect to this whole closure. We've talked a lot about it, and we've talked about a lot of different topics in terms of the closure. We first talked about just in general my impressions to Telltale games closing. We also talked about like a refund for Walking Dead, the final season, and talked about what that whole thing is all about. And we also talked about if people should even buy episode 2 of The Walking Dead. Now, tomorrow I am going to have another video, I think the final video on Telltale, talking about what I think The Walking Dead would have ended up being, how the ending of The Walking Dead would have ended. But in this video, I want to talk about the overall genre of episodic games. And Tyler brought this up to me, said I should have made this video, and so I'm going to do it because I do think there's some things to be said about it. And it's an interesting point because here's the thing, I've seen this actually in comments both on our videos and just on Twitter. People, Telltale games, especially on Twitter, there's the hashtag that's gone around over the past couple days, thank you Telltale or whatever, and all the gaming developers have reached out, tried to get the people that were all fired jobs, and I'm a huge supporter of that. First and foremost, it's really sad and really sucks that all those guys and girls lost their jobs, and it's really awesome that the gaming community, all these other developers are stepping up to take them into their wings. I think that's really awesome, but like I said in a couple videos ago, or whichever video I talked about it, you can't ignore the negative parts of this, and there's a ton of negative parts to this. For one, what I talked about with The Walking Dead. Are we going to get a refund? For the season pass, why did we spend $20 if we're only going to get 2 out of the 4 episodes? There's that. There's the fact that The Walking Dead, it's the first time that a game is coming out and midway through the game being into our hands, the developer closes its doors. That's really never happened before. So there's that. And then there's also this issue. How does this hurt the trust, not just for Telltale, because Telltale's gone, so the distrust or the hatred over whatever word you want to use for Telltale doesn't really matter. What goes forward, though, is the impact it makes on the other episodic games. So I talked about in the very first video that like a game like Life is Strange, I truly do not think is possible without the success of the first Walking Dead. And actually, the co-writer of Life is Strange, when I'm recording this video, had tweeted out and said Life is Strange would not be possible without Telltale. And so, that backs me up, and I had thought that all along anyway. But what does this do? There's not that many episodic games out into the world. There really isn't, but there is a couple, and I feel like developers are trying to build it up. We have Life is Strange, which is definitely, at this point now, the biggest and most prominent episodic game out there. Life is Strange 2 is definitely the biggest one, considering there is no other one that can even come close. We had The Walking Dead final season. We would have had Wolf Among Us, but Telltale Games is out of the picture. There are a couple other developers that have had these episodic games. There was one that's, I believe, started over the summer that's 2 or 3 episodes into a 5-episode thing. But the bottom line is there's not that many episodic games, but I feel like it's definitely a huge avenue for storytelling, definitely a really cool and different thing, and it's still cool and different, even though it's been many years since the first Walking Dead game has come out. It's been 6 years, but the formula has really kept it going to a certain extent. But does this hurt the trust for that? Are people ever going to buy season passes for an episodic game ever again? Tyler made a point to me. Life is Strange 2. Okay, we don't really know the financial situation of Don't Nod because companies don't really come out and say, yeah, we're doing great money-wise, or they don't report how much money they have. So we don't really know how Don't Nod's doing. Now, I assume they're doing extremely well. Life is Strange 1 sold insanely well for what that developer thought it was going to do. But at the same time, I thought Telltale was doing fine too, and they're obviously not. They're going bankrupt. They didn't have any money. So you can't really be sure how much money these companies have, and for that reason, you can't really tell what the future lies. So while I do believe Life is Strange 2 will have a complete season, and I've already bought the full season of Life is Strange 2, what does that say for like the next game? Like if Life is Strange 2 sells at least decent, and we get told that Life is Strange 3 is happening in 2-3 years, are people going to buy the full season of that? Because that's a lot of time for whatever financial situation to happen to Don't Nod. And I'm just using Don't Nod. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. And for one, I really do not believe this is going to happen. I think Don't Nod's fine. I think if they promise us stuff, they're going to deliver. Telltale was in a different situation, which we talked about. They spread themselves super thin. They made so many internal teams. They were cranking out games left and right. And obviously, they were not selling any of them as much as they thought. Like I said in the first video, they grew so fast and they expected to grow with that, with money-wise, they expected to grow with the actual company, and it didn't happen. But so Don't Nod is the biggest example of of what could happen again, just because of their name and because of Life is Strange. But this really does hurt the trust of other companies too. If any company wants to jump in and say, we want to do an episodic game, really, can they promise all the episodes, or are people just going to buy individual episodes? I feel like this is really going to send a trend to just buy individual episodes, and that could hurt. If Life is Strange, say season 3 comes out, and the majority of people just buy episode 1 and go episode to episode, that's a risky thing. It's kind of just like pre-orders too, where you hope as a developer that you get a lot of people on board early, that you get the pre-orders, so that when the game comes out, you sell a lot of your copies based off the pre-orders and not day one buys. You want people in before anything even happens. And I feel like that's also what the season passes for these episodic games are supposed to do. You're supposed to buy the full thing, trusting them that you're going to like it. And obviously that's going to come out, but obviously that's not obvious anymore. And you go from there. And so that second part has now been broken. And I wonder how that's going to do for episodic games in the future. Are people just going to buy single episodes from now on for any episodic game, Don't Nod or any other developer in general? So that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Like, how do you think this impacts episodic games going in the future? Do you think there's even less of them now? Do you think maybe there's more of them now? Let me know. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.